Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Are we live? I think we are. I
Yeah.
can't see. All good. Hey, Sujay.
What's up, Brett? We live. We live.
We're live. So, everybody, I want to see
We
who's
love, we
here.
love.
Where are you guys coming in from? Get a good sense of where everybody's at. Rhode Island. Hey, friend. Good to see you. Derek from Charlotte. Oh, Miami. Love it. I'm in Miami right now. What? Oh, great. I forgot you're in Miami too. What? Look at all these Miami people. I love it. We should do a meetup. Why are we all on Zoom? Sujay,
Oh,
come out here.
that would have been awesome. Actually, I'll be there next month.
There we go. Need some sunshine, I mean. Any Canadians? I don't see any this time around. I just called my dad and he's freezing up in Canada. So
That's
I'm
awesome.
glad to be here in Miami working on some
Oh,
really
we
cool.
got Spain. That's
Oh,
cool.
so
I
okay,
guess Fort Lauderdale's close enough to Miami. You
yeah,
count.
it counts, it counts. Well, welcome everybody. We're really excited for today's presentation, why the wealthiest real estate investors are quietly moving into hotel investing. And it has been this bit of a buzzword, and Sujay and I are really happy to have you all here live. We want you to use the chat as well. Any questions that you have that come up, uh, feel free, put them in the chat and we will get to them as we're going through. And we will also leave some time at the end for a Q&A. But for today, for the agenda, our promise for you is by the end of this time together, we will teach you how you can tap into high cash flow, low competition deals, even if you're new to commercial real estate. So no problem if you're new, if you're experienced, we will break everything down for you. The hidden advantages of hotel investing, how our clients are locking in massive cash flow and equity, and the most important one, our 5-step breakdown, to our step-by-step blueprint and how you can get a deal in your own portfolio. So if that sounds good, we want to see some excitement in the chat over here. So just type a yes or some fire emojis or whatever you guys want to do. There we go. I love it. All right. So let's get into it. A little intro if you guys don't know us already. My name is Britt. I have been a real estate investor for 15 years now. Started in the whole single family home world and then really built myself this big job. And I don't know if any of you in the chat or here today are maybe in single family homes or Airbnb, but I did that for a long time. And that was 10 years of my life that I was doing construction, that I was property managing, that I was doing Airbnb and just trying to figure out this whole real estate thing because I wanted to get out of my 9 to 5. I was working as a power engineer and I wanted to use real estate as a vehicle to have more freedom, have more time in my life. But then I realized in building all these single family home, this portfolio that it just was taking up all of my time and I needed a different way. And I was learning from podcasts, I was listening to conferences, and it just kept pointing towards commercial real estate. And with my background in the Airbnb space, in design, in hospitality, really, if any of you are in Airbnbs, you kind of know, it just made sense with hotels, right? Because it's just, why would I want 10 little single family homes trying to manage it all, going crazy when I could have one hotel that makes more money and I actually spend less time? So that was really the transition for me, and I've been in commercial real estate ever since. And I'm curious too, in the chat, I would love to just see where you guys all are at. I see a few. Alex says single family homes here. Any of you feel like it's kind of turned into a bit of a job and you're just looking for a better way to scale faster, spend maybe less time on your properties? And I see a few of you. Oh, Fran says large multifamilies already own a boutique hotel. I love it. I can't wait to dig into that. Christopher, industrial property in LA. Terrence is multifamily. Wow, I love it, you guys. As well as 10 single families. Uh, okay. And Tom says so many motels across America can be turned into golf ranges. I love this idea. You guys, what a great chat we have here, Sujay. This is awesome.
It's
And we got,
live.
yeah, this is great. And then self-storage investors, that's another asset class that I went into as well. And I have a few multifamilies too. So there are so many ways to make money in commercial real estate. But man, you guys have some great experience.
Yeah,
And we're
great
gonna get
experience. Sorry, go ahead, Britt. But I was saying great experience, but also a lot of people looking to get into it, and I think that's awesome as well, right? So
Yeah, and whether you're brand new, that's okay too, right? You don't have to own a portfolio to get into this business. And we're going to go through it step by step on how to do that and how to scale. And Eva says this, I own nothing, but will change in 2026 more than ready. I love it. I love the attitude. And that's the most important thing, right? You guys have to make the decision what you want to do. You're here with us on our hotel investor webinar tonight. So it's the time, not to be sitting on the fence. You have to decide one way or the other what you want to go. And then that decision is really the most important decision that you'll make. Because once you're committed, we promise you, if you follow these steps, it will happen for you. Okay, so that was a little bit about me. And Sujay and I actually met through our networks of people because you can see this hotel here. This was my first one ever that we got in Belize, I guess in 2023. And owning this hotel, I was looking around to my networks. I asked Pace Morby, Brandon Turner, all these people maybe you guys have heard of. And I was saying, who is the best hotel operator out there? Because I want to learn from them. And everybody pointed in the direction of Sujay over there. So through us partnering actually now in different hotel deals and me learning so much from Sujay, we just know that there's not that much information out there. And everyone all this on this call could probably see that as well. There's just not a ton of education. So with Sujay's experience, we decided to partner and bring this to you guys. So we created a program for those who are really excited about hotel investing, and we're doing this webinar together here today just so we can go through and you guys can learn, from the best that there is. So I'm really excited to introduce to you Sujay. So you can take
yeah.
it from
What's up,
there.
everybody? As Britt mentioned, my name is Sujay. And she gives me a little bit too much credit. We did come together and launch this program, but even more than a program, it's become a community. And I say that and I emphasize that now because just like Britt said that, she learned a lot from me. I continuously learn so much from her. And that's the power of like community, right? It's like finding partners and other people that you can do the thing with, right? And that's something that I'm really grateful for. Is this business partnership that we have with that I have with Britt, and yeah, you guys will kind of see it as we go along too. It's like we really yin and yang really well. So, but with that being said, background on who I am. So I cut my teeth in hospitality investing with a development project. There's a picture of it here. This was my first ever project, first ever commercial deal. I was pre-med, graduated in neuroscience from Ohio State. I wanted to be a doctor, or was pushed to be a doctor rather. And then I had a change of heart and decided I don't want to, study for the next 10, 15 years of my life after college. I wanted to do something more. And for me, that path was commercial real estate, allowing me to buy back my time, allowing me to live the life that I wanted to. And so, as a 24-year-old, not knowing what I was getting myself into, I was like, oh, this is a nice piece of land. Let me build a hotel on it. And I started constructing a project, and, I've never looked, back ever since. And, we started doing some development projects, and then I started doing some acquisitions. And slowly I've, scaled up the portfolio. To 17 plus deals and partnerships that we have currently. Actually, next month will be probably the most successful month in terms of like deals closed. Next month, we're closing 3 deals, and so it's like super high stress time for me right now in the sense of like making sure that everything is all the ducks are in a row. So, I have a little bit of experience on the construction, development, acquisition, as well as renovation. And, we're doing flagged hotels as well as boutique hotels. So, lots of fun to share with you guys.
Yeah. And who even knew that you could buy a Marriott hotel? I didn't before
Mhm.
I met Sujay. So there's just so many levels to this, and you can start really small. And we'll get into that because you could buy a hotel for less than a duplex in some markets, which we have some examples on. But it's cool to see the scale as well. And you could start small, you could stay small, or you could scale up and go as big as you want to. So something I also love about hotel investing.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about the reality of real estate in 2025, and I'm sure a lot of you have been feeling some pain in it, and especially in the single family home world, even multifamily, with the crazy interest rates going up and then the cash flow just going down. Has anyone felt that in the chat? I'll take a look here. Just a little bit of this maybe tricky time in real estate. Derek says yes. Okay, Derek, you're alone on this one. Okay, there we go. Eric, Matt. So many, right? And
Yeah,
that
and it's funny because like historically, real estate was never something. It was never meant for like a full-time profession. It was for rich people that can park their money, have 4% cap rate, 5% cap rate type deals and passive income, right? It wasn't meant to be like this full-time thing. And then all of a sudden, 2020 everyone jumped into it, and it just became so mainstream. And a part of that is, just information, right? Living in the information age where it's easy to kind of figure out what to do, and YouTube and Instagram and everyone talking about it. A lot of people jumped into it, and it created a frenzy. And prices started going up. There was a ton of demand, and multifamily deals are selling at 3% cap rate. Like I was like, what? This is crazy. They're telling you you're not going to make any money, and people are still buying it. And so, just a lot of competition for low cap rate deals. And that's the environment we've been in for the last few years. Now, finally, cap rates are going a little bit higher, and there's more stuff on the market, but interest rates are still high, right? So it still doesn't make sense from a cash flow perspective. And then regulations are changing for people who have gotten into short-term rentals. Taxes are going up, property taxes are going up. So it's just a really tough time to get into real estate, right? Like a lot of people feeling that pressure, I think, is what we're seeing.
Yeah, and I see some people having the pain of the multifamily. Stefan, David, saying multifamily has become oversaturated, especially with institutional capital flowing in, and that is just happening more and more. But this is the thing, right? We have to adapt, and that's why we're talking about this. And you have to adapt or get left behind. And then this is another thing, right? We're ahead of the curve on this. And we love this quote, Warren Buffett, what the wise do in the beginning, fools do in the end. So we're coming at you guys with a different strategy to kind of combat a lot of these issues that we're having in some different asset classes.
Yeah, no, I love that quote. And to be honest, I like to reference another one too, and it's "Be greedy when others are fearful," is another quote by him. And that's what investors who are experienced or are wealthy already that they do. They shift, right? They shift their strategy, they shift their perspective and what they're doing. And so that's where, like hospitality or hotel investing really comes into play right now is they go into asset classes that are not looked at, right? Like storage has always been there, right? And then about 8, 9 years ago, um, people started shifting into storage, and now everyone, like same problem. Like there's so much demand in self-storage, right? And so similarly, what we are doing is we're shifting our focus into hotels. You guys are already here, so your algorithm, your Instagram is like throwing hotel investing at you. You're seeing it everywhere. But really, you're ahead of the curve, which is amazing, right? You want to be the one that can sell it when the demand is high and the cap rates are low. You don't want to get in when it's already hot, right? So very rarely in our life do we get that opportunity to kind of jump into something ahead of the curve, right? The other
Well,
thing that,
not only that too, I wanted to point
yeah,
out as well, Sujay, just with it is a bit of urgency, to be honest, because of this, what do they call it? Silver tsunami of business owners who are hotel owners, right? And then this baby boomer generation of people are retiring, right? And there's not necessarily someone to pass it down to. A lot of the time, these owners don't have family that want to take it on. That happens
yeah.
all the time. Or they don't have anyone and they just are at the point now wanting to sell. And there's so much opportunity in that in itself that we want to be able to take advantage of it and not look back 10 years from now and wish that we didn't miss the opportunity.
Yeah, no, and you nailed it. Like that's exactly what these experienced investors do, right? Like they buy businesses that are cash flowing, right? They buy assets that aren't looked at, that aren't in like the main spotlight. They buy assets that are tired, maybe not positioned correctly, and they do some value add. And we'll talk about like what value add you can do to hotels, right? They do some value add and reposition them. And then they get creative with how they close, how they buy it. They leverage capital, whether it's from a bank, from people, from sellers, whatever it is, but they leverage capital to do so. That doesn't mean that they have to use all their money or park all their money, right? Because like cash is king. So you want to make your money go as far as possible. So, these are all things that wealthy investors are doing right now.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I want to give an example because Britt did mention earlier. She talked about how hotels are sometimes selling for even less than a duplex, and most people are like, "What? There's no way that's possible." So, I want to give an example of a deal that we recently closed on just a few months back. It was in North Carolina. It was 15 keys. We bought it for $1.5 million, right? So if you're looking at like a duplex in a hot market, I mean, close, maybe more expensive, maybe a little bit less. But we bought it for 1.5. And I talked about repositioning the asset, and that's exactly what we did here. We're doing a renovation over here. We're in the middle of it right now. So we're actually, we just shut down the property. We ran it for a few months. We just shut it down to kind of like finish the bulk of the renovation because we're entering the slow season. So we're gonna do a $750,000 renovation. That's gonna put our all-in cost at just over 2 million, right? Like two and a quarter roughly. And once we do the renovation and add the wellness component, the sauna, the cold plunge, all that kind of stuff, and make it more resort like. We're also going to add 10 more keys, so turn it into a 24 to 25 unit property. The after repair value of the property is going to be 4.25 million. Now, that's just the value of the property. That doesn't include the cash flow that we're collecting every single month while owning the asset. So, there's definitely deals that are out there that are as little as $1.5 million to purchase to as much as my last acquisition last year was a 12.4 plus a $1.5 million property, right? So there's a whole scale of what you can buy these properties for, but the entry level properties do exist as well.
And one of my favorite deals too, we had a guest speaker come on, Brandy, and she was telling us about her first hotel deal. She bought it for $370,000. It was five cabins, seven rooms. And after a year of just turning around operations, right? Like these owners were completely absent. She got an amazing deal on it because it wasn't making any money. But the problem wasn't the hotel itself. The problem was the current owners that were just letting it go. And after a year, she really didn't put that much money into it. She did all of this on her own. And her net profit, her total profit now yearly is over $200,000 a year. And in a few years, she bought it for 370,000 and now it's worth over 1,000,000. So I love that story too because it just shows those kind of deals where you can actually take something like that that's not making any money, do a few tweaks on the operations, and then have a property making you $200,000 a year. So something that was just a cool story and another one of those entry level deals like Sujay was talking about. But we kind of covered this a little bit, but why hotels now? We talked about a little bit of the market. A lot of these owners, like for example, Brandy's deal, where the owner was just completely absent. They weren't paying attention to the property. It was only making $5,000 a year, but when they did those few operational turnarounds, now it's making 200, which is pretty amazing. But there are deals like that out there. And then we love the cash flow part of it. Like I see a few of you in the multifamily space with the, maybe some cash flow issues right now, but that's something we love about the hotel space, right? Day one
Yeah.
cash
And,
flow.
it's a great way to combat like some of the issues that we talked about, right? Like I alluded to like the problems of investing in real estate in 2025, right? But imagine if you could buy an asset not at a 3% cap rate, right? One that is cash flowing from day one and you're able to make P&I payments. So what does that mean? Principal and interest, right? A lot of these people who bought multifamily deals in 2021, 20, and again, I've invested in them as well. So, it was just a different time. But a lot of those deals were on variable rates, right? And so you're not paying down the principal. But hotels, they cash flow from day one. And so banks will give you a 25-year mortgage, a 30-year mortgage on that property, and you're paying down the note, you're paying the interest payment, and you still have money to take home. There's low competition, right? Because it's a business plus real estate. It's not just real estate. There is that business component to it, which is the operations, which we'll get into a little bit later too. And that scares a lot of people. And, or people don't know that you can buy a Marriott. People don't know that you can buy this, 20-room hotel and operate it as commercial real estate. People don't know this stuff, right? And so it is low competition for now, right? I think there's definitely a frenzy. People are really jumping into it. I was just talking to someone earlier today, Robert. I don't know. I hopefully he's on here. But he's like, man, I caught the bug. I caught the hotel bug, and I don't know what it is, but it just keeps drawing me into it, right? So, yeah, just a lot of people are going to get into it, and I think the competition is going to go up. So, and then just to keep going down the points, dynamic pricing is something that's unique to hotels. When you have and multifamily assets are trying to use it too. But what happens is when you have a long-term rental or you have a multifamily property, you lock in a tenant for a 1-year lease or a 2-year lease, right? If your area starts growing or Intel announces that they're going to do a massive investment in your suburb, now all of a sudden prices are going up, you can't touch those leases. What we can do in the hotel industry is the Super Bowl is announced in, Columbus, Ohio. Boom, we're gonna jack up the prices, right? And so if you can pay attention and if you have a pulse on the market, you can play with your rates, especially using AI nowadays. You can play with your rates to really capture the highest and best price for that day. And also you can leverage lower pricing to capture a higher occupancy, right? So if you're struggling on occupancy, you could drop the rates, bring up the occupancy. And really dynamic pricing is such a powerful tool. And it's the difference between a great deal and a good deal, right? And so this leads to higher margins. We're able to, do an occupancy first type strategy versus an ADR type strategy. We can go back and forth depending on the season. And then management systems, right? Like when you buy a hotel, it's already a cash flowing asset. Management systems are already in place. You don't have to figure it all out. You don't have to come up with the sauce. It's already there for you to take, right? And so that is definitely like huge pros when it comes to hotels. Especially when comparing to like Airbnbs, right? Like guest messaging at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. you can have a staff. You can afford a staff because it's higher revenue, and you're already profitable. So you can have a general manager who's dealing with these things. You can have a property manager or a maintenance person. You could have a housekeeping staff that's on your payroll. They're expected to clock in every day at 9 a.m. So these are all things that you can do with hotels that makes it such a powerful asset in 2025.
Anyone have that pain of the Airbnb text that oh my God, I have such funny stories from my Airbnb days. But even through thinking about the control of the property too, right? Any of you who are in the Airbnb world, the city can shut you down, and that's actually what happened to a few of my Airbnb properties, which is a big reason why I wanted a different way as well. But it makes sense. It makes sense to scale, and then there's more money to go around too in partnerships, and you don't have to do everything by yourself. You don't have to do it all alone. I mean, you can if you really want to, but through partnering, and we all have strengths and weaknesses as well, right? So I would rather focus on what I love, what I enjoy, what I want to work on, and then leave the stuff that I don't love as much to my incredible partners like Sujay over there. So I love that as well about hotel investing, because there is just more options in that way, more options for funding the deal, more options for partnering, more options in scaling. So there's so many benefits as well. So, but then there's a lot, right, of questions. And hotel ownership was not even something I was ever thinking about, to be honest. It wasn't something that stood out to me at first until my SEC attorney brought me a deal in Belize. And then when I got there, I'm like, this is amazing. And I loved the opportunity. And then after meeting Sujay and just seeing how much opportunity there truly is, especially right now, that was when my direction fully changed to hotel investing. And there are just so many benefits, like I was saying, with the creative financing, with partnerships. And again, like Sujay was talking about, you don't need to necessarily be the manager day to day. There are people that can help, and we want to run things like an actual business here.
Yeah, I think this is huge, and I really love this because even for me, even after I started owning hotels, even to the next level to scale, right? There's myth busting that happens all the way across, and so we'll kind of go through them a little bit. But we already talked about one. Definitely entry level properties exist, and you can acquire them. But 1.5 million plus 750 renovation, that still sounds like a big number, right? $2.25 million. I know Brandy's deal was a lot less, so it sounds a little bit more palatable, but some of these numbers are big, they're big numbers. But here's the thing, you don't have to have all of the money up front, right? And I talked a little bit about leverage, and that's something even in my journey that I learned, right? In the beginning, I was like, oh man, I got to keep all the equity, I got to keep all the ownership. Where am I going to get this money from? I leveraged and I used private money for my first deal, right? And I did that, but I was like, man, how many times can I do this? Is this really scalable? And we were cash flowing really well. We were doing really good. But I was like, how many times can I do this? And I started to learn what it meant to raise capital and have partnerships and bring people together where, like someone may have a really good tech job, or someone may be a physician or a lawyer, and they have a full-time job, but they have a high income and they don't know what to do with it. And they need someone like us who are operators, right? And so they'll invest with us. And so that's what it means to raise capital. So slowly, as I started going down my journey, I started raising capital, and now I have investors on my deals. And then in the beginning they were just joint ventures. Now they've become syndications, and now we're doing a fund, right? So like there's iterations to even raising capital and leverage, and every deal is unique, right? Like you don't have to be like, oh my God, I have to do a fund to buy a hotel. No, every deal is unique and it's case by case, but it's important to understand what the options are and what you have available to you in your toolbox. So that way, when the deal comes about, you can say, okay, I need a hammer for this, or I need a Phillips screwdriver for this, or I need a wrench for this, and we can get the deal done, right? So, creative financing and partnerships. So we talked about partnerships. What is creative financing? So a lot of people who are in investing in residential real estate. So whether that's short-term rentals, long-term rentals, maybe even some mid-term rentals, may not find this as easy as you can with commercial real estate, right? Because if I have a home and I'm going to sell my home to you, it's difficult for me to sell or finance my home because I got to go buy another house, right? But in commercial real estate, especially when we talk about the baby boomers who have owned these hotels and these tired assets for 30, 40 years in their family, they're going to have a massive, massive tax burden when they sell this property to you, especially when they bought it for 100,000 and they're going to sell it for, $1.5 million, right? They're going to have a huge tax burden. And so what you can pitch to them is you can say, hey, how about you creatively finance this for me? What that means is you carry the seller note, right? I'm gonna come down and I'm gonna bring $100,000. You carry 1.4 million or $1 million or whatever you can negotiate, and I will pay you a little bit of that every single year, and you don't have to pay tax on that. But now you can go on vacation and you can go to the beach and not have to worry, and you can retire, and you have this steady annuity coming every single year. And let me do the hard part, right? Let me run the hotel. And then you can renovate it, you can add technology, you can operate it better, you can do all the things and make it cash flowing so that way you're paying off that seller finance and you have cash that you can take home, right? So it's just one example of a way that you can creatively finance a hotel. There's many different ways. There's many different resources that you can use. In the United States, we have something called the SBA loan, because this is not just real estate and it's business plus real estate. The government actually helps you get financing for these types of properties. So it's a great program for entry level investors. And oftentimes they have lower interest rates as well. So just lots of opportunities that you can tap into.
And
Brett, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but
yeah, I was gonna say because I see Fran was saying every deal is unique. We are getting crushed at our hotel versus brand new condos. So I want to dig into that a little bit in the Q&A, and we'll talk about even some of your deals, Sujay, and going through COVID, for example, and how to mitigate risk. I think that's a really important point, and how we could find different ways to increase cash flow, decrease expenses, and then using your experience in doing that. So I think that's a really important point, and we will get to questions as well. I see a few questions coming in, but we do have time for the end for that as well. But common limiting beliefs, because we all have them. I had these in my head too. I never thought I'd be a hotel investor. I really didn't, because it felt too big, it felt too complicated and scary at the time. But once I started to understand, learn more, it's pretty simple business practices, right? And we just have to uh, use the systems that have been working forever, right? And there's even more now coming up with AI and the crazy stuff going on. I mean, even at the hotel I'm at now, there's not even a check-in desk. You make your own key. I'm like, it's crazy the technology that's coming into hotel investing, and we want to take advantage of it, cut costs and all of those things. So, we want to get into our steps system. So make sure you guys are taking notes for this, because this will go through everything that you need to actually own one of these yourself. So step one, locate profitable hotel deals. So how are we going to find these things, Sujay?
yeah. So, first of all, people are so used to just like looking on Zillow for deals. And obviously, hotels aren't just going to be on Zillow, right? And so one of the biggest things with finding profitable hotel deals is a lot of these people have owned these hotels. Baby boomers have had the property in their portfolio for a very long time. And so there's two ways to get them. One is on market and one is off market. And to get off market deals, it could be as simple as approaching some of these tired assets, locating them, underwriting them, make sure it's a market that you want to invest in. And then you can actually, because it's a 24/7 business and it's operating, you could actually walk into the door and talk to the manager. And we even have scripts that we have to, how to approach the manager and how to get in touch with the owner and see if they'd be interested in some sort of creative partnership or potentially even exiting altogether out of their business and, leaving it for someone else to take it to the next level, right? So the off-market deals are definitely options. But I love the on-market deals, and it's not what you guys think, where it's like just on the MLS, but the hotel space is a little bit fragmented from a brokerage perspective because it's not just like real estate that's just out on these like big broker networks, right? But a lot of local brokers, because it's a business, a lot of these local brokers will actually be marketing it to just like the local community. And so if you're living 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours away from the property, you may never even see it. But that's a great thing because it's not heavily marketed. You just have to know and get in the right rooms to be in touch with those people and get on their listservs and find those deals. So the last two deals that we did in North Carolina both came from like a smaller realtor or a consultant that was marketing these deals. And honestly, if they were marketed more heavily, we probably would have had a lot more competition and we probably wouldn't have been able to buy it for the price that we did.
Absolutely. So second, underwrite like a pro. So this is
Yeah,
the big one, right? Being able
yeah,
to
this is
underwrite anything.
this is huge, and this is one that I really love because I'm a numbers person, right? And so when underwriting these deals, like this is something that we do a lot in the academy as well, and we do deal analysis calls where we underwrite these deals. Um, I've underwritten so many deals now where I typically like to ask for just like four numbers, right? And so I want to know how old the asset is, what the revenue is, what the NOI is, and how many keys it is. With those four numbers, I could almost give an LOI pending an additional due diligence and like verification of the numbers and looking at star reports and things like that. But those four numbers will kind of give me an idea. And this is the great thing about commercial real estate is that there's math to it, right? It's not just like, oh, I'm gonna sell my STR. Well, now you're selling it on the residential market and you're selling to a family who's like, oh, I like that the lawn is like this, or the tree, they have these kind of trees in their yard, so I'm gonna pay an extra 20K, right? There's numbers to it. There's cap rates, there's revenue multipliers, there's a per door cost basis. So these are like three solid metrics that we use to be able to like underwrite and get an overall value for the property. Cap rate, revenue multiplier, and a per door per key is what we say, but a per key basis. But yeah, so we do a back of the envelope underwriting, and then if it's a deal and it gets a thumbs up there, then we take it to the next level, and we put it into our deal analysis calculator, and we figure out if we're gonna raise capital and all the things. So that's step
And
two.
I think this is so important because the more you do this and the more you can do back in the napkin, it's just practice. And it is pretty simple. It feels overwhelming at first because there's so much to it. There's so many numbers, there's so much going on. But like Sujay says, he just needs a few now and he can make a decision quite quickly. And the more deals you analyze, and if you get in that habit, I'm going to analyze a deal every 5 deals every single week. Like, you know how good you're going to get at analyzing really fast, whether it's a deal that makes any sense or not. Just go through, you can go through CoStar, a commercial real estate listing site, just go through. Like the
Yeah.
more you could practice, if you could take a takeaway from this presentation, this is just something you need to do. You need to go through, you need to practice and just get in that habit, and then you will see a good deal when it comes across your plate. So three, secure creative financing. So both creative and traditional. I saw something about SBA loans as well. So there's so many different ways to finance these things. And if you find a good deal in step one and two, I guarantee step three is going to happen.
Yeah. So for this step, I think it's really important to take a step back, right? Like people are like creative finance, and then we just get tunnel vision is like, I gotta creatively finance this deal, but it's like, hold up, let's take a step back. Like, let's understand what all is going on with this deal. where am I? What are my gaps, right? Like, do I have a 1031 exchange? Like, I've just sold a property and I need to utilize these funds to buy a next property? Or do I have a network that I can leverage of high net worth individuals or high income earning individuals that I can use? Maybe I have none of those, right? But I haven't have access to private money, right? And get a loan that way. And so we need to take a step back and really assess like what we have going for us. But just a couple things that we can do, as Britt talked about, is we have to figure out the capital stack. And so the capital stack is like, okay, let's say this deal is $1 million, right? I need to have a capital stack that gets me to $1 million. So the first piece of that is going to be some sort of equity. So it could be a loan, it could be investors that I bring, it could be my money, and that's going to be the first tranche. So that could be 10, 15, 20% of the deal. So let's say it's 200,000, right? The next portion, I need to figure out if the seller is willing to carry any of the debt, right? And so if the seller says like, "Hey, I'm willing to hold back $200,000 and I'll give that to you as a loan," that would be the next stack. And then the next stack would be some sort of traditional financing. So that would be like we talked about, the SBA or a local community bank or a credit union or, a bridge loan or a mezzanine. There's so many different loan options when you get into hotels, just depending on the size and what makes sense. But that's how we kind of fill the capital stack, and that's step three.
Okay.
Oh, this is my favorite. Yeah. This is my absolute favorite. I love the negotiation phase because like everybody thinks that like negotiation just means, oh, 1.5 million, no, 1.4 million, 1.3, and then you settle at, like what 1.35, right? And so everyone thinks like all you can negotiate is the price, but that is not true at all. There's so many pieces of like so many terms that you can negotiate when acquiring a hotel. And you got to remember that you're buying this. I keep saying this, it's real estate plus business, right? So there's the real estate value, right? You can even negotiate how you allocate values because there's a tax burden, right? Depending on how much the land is, how much the building is, how much the goodwill is, all those things, right? And these are all things that I teach about regularly. And it's all things that I've learned through my process of buying all these deals, right? It's all things that I've negotiated and I've been on both sides of the table. But you can negotiate, the price, the allocation of the price, as well as the business part, right? So you got to remember you have supplies. One of the deals that I talk about is like last year we bought a property and this like we had to get a couple extensions for financing purposes. And so while getting the extensions, it was almost like 5 months to close on this deal. And what happened was through those 5 months, the sellers like stopped ordering new stuff. They didn't care. They already had a set price and they were going to sell it anyway. But what they didn't realize was in the purchase sale agreement, I had negotiated that there's a certain par level for all the linen, all the supplies, the cups, the shampoo, all that stuff, right? And so when we took over, it was like skeletons, right? Like in the supply room, there was nothing there. And we were able to go back and save ourselves $50,000 of orders that we would have had to eat at day one at takeover when we already haven't like built our reserve account. We would have had to eat a $50,000 bill, but instead we're able to force the sellers to order it because that was part of the contract, right? So just an example of all the things. Obviously, then there's closing costs and timelines, deadlines, employees, solicitation, non-compete, so many things that you can negotiate. So I love this part of it, and I love the negotiation part. So.
And there's so much to know and so much to know from your experience. Because if you don't know, you don't know, right? And it's cool to hear all of Sujay's stories as well and how much, there is so much room to negotiate there. So
Oh,
step
it's fun.
five,
Yeah,
yeah.
and if you do it right, the acquisition process becomes seamless. So then you get to acquire it and you have this like negotiation that happens. And now like the next step is scale, right? So bought my first deal, it absolutely cranked. I guess, if we have some time, I'll go into my first deal and, kind of how we did it through COVID and stuff. But then it's like scaling, right? So I talked about next month three deals that we're trying to close on, one piece of land and then two operating assets, one boutique and one branded. But that only happens if you do it the right way and you have the systems and the processes. And, even when you're raising capital, you may have an investor who's interested, just not today. Right. And so, like, building the CRMs, building the back end processes, will help you really scale. And then knowing when it is the right time to exit. Right. I'm buying hotels every day, but I'm also selling some of mine, right? So, like, how to think through that and how to think like, okay, maybe we exit out of this and, use that capital to move it into something else and continue to scale, continue to grow, is a very important step. And this is takes a little bit of introspection and understanding, what your strengths are and what your goals are, for the next, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And yeah, this is the fun stuff. Britt's really good at this too. So
Yeah, so to recap, the five-step system: one, locate profitable hotel deals; two, underwrite like a pro; three, secure creative financing; four, negotiate and acquire; five, scale or exit. And really, it can be quite simple and it could feel overwhelming if you're brand new to it, but we promise you, if you just follow the steps and really uh, put your all into it, it does take some time, right? It takes some learning, especially if you're new, but it is definitely possible. And so a little case study here as well.
yeah, this is a deal that one of our students closed on, recently. It was a 24 room motel with a liquor store and a pub inside. So really bought three businesses inside of one, and obviously it just wasn't operated very well. I wish, next time we'll put some like before and after pictures as well, because he just bought it a couple months ago, and with zero experience, they've already started the renovation process, and it's night and day. And like, just going with the numbers, like they've already kind of hit their pro forma numbers without doing a bulk of their renovation. They're already cash flowing, taking money home. And it is really just a great deal. You guys can, kind of read the numbers over here. The first month's revenue at takeover was $115,000, and that covered all of their payroll, their mortgage, including principal and interest. They had to buy a bunch of new equipment, because when they took over, the equipment didn't work. It's one of the things that we do put in the PSA. And so, it covered all of that stuff. And so what could have been very stressful wasn't, because you have this high cash flowing asset, right? So, and then the NOI at purchase was just 23%. And they're projecting to stabilize at 25. So, they didn't underwrite very well. Like, they didn't underwrite for a very aggressive increase in, like, flow through, but they're going to increase the revenue a good amount, and they're already blowing through the projected stabilization of like NOI. So this is just really exciting.
Yeah. It's so again, do you need experience? This is what we teach. We gave you our systems, kind of the overview. We only have an hour and it goes by so fast. So we try to give you as much information jam-packed in this hour as we possibly can. But, there's always more to learn, more to grow. Hopefully we answered a lot of your questions. We still will do Q&A. I see some good questions in the chat, so we will do that at the end as well. But you do need, that ambition, and we're here to help you with the roadmap. So, yeah, I guess why this works now: hotel prices still depressed post COVID. So that was a big thing in the industry. There's more seller financing available. And I see some questions in the chat on seller financing as well. And then travel industry rebounding and in high demand. So we'll get to a few of those questions during the Q&A, but we know it can be a lot. It's a lot of information coming at you all at once, but that's okay, right? We're here for you. We're here to answer your questions today. And then we're also, here for the future. If you guys are really excited and ready to dive into hotel investing, that's what Sujay and I are here for. So, hotel investing, high cash flow business with the real estate attached, something we love about the asset. And of course, with all investments, there are risks involved, and it is not just this get rich quick, easy thing. This is a long-term wealth building vehicle. This is something that if you do decide to go for, can change the path of your family's life. It's generational wealth that you could bring to your family, and that is something to think about too. It's just what's the reason why you really want it? Why are you guys here on an hour-long webinar learning about this, right? Just starting to really think about that. Is the time freedom? Is it the getting away from your 9 to 5, maybe replacing that income, traveling more? Is it, what is it deep down the reason why? And then uh, understanding that, going for that, and then that's going to be the thing that keeps you moving forward to it as well, because there's so much opportunity in it, but it's not just this easy, let's do it kind of thing, right? We're in this to build real businesses and make a lot of money through it as well. So you don't need to know everything. You just need to get started, right? We don't want to get stuck in the analysis paralysis, which can be really difficult in commercial real estate, especially because it does feel like a lot, but that's okay. It's just one step at a time and moving forward in these incremental, every single day actions. And actions, the most important thing. Learning on these webinars is great, right? But we want to actually get off this call and go do something, take action right away, and you could build incredible wealth through hotel investing. But the number one way you can ensure you will not succeed is to get off this call and just do nothing at all. So we don't want that for you guys. We want you to take action, whether that's on your own or if you're ready to dive in. We do have our community of like-minded people who want to invest and succeed in hotel investing. And this is why we created this community, right? Because we want a place for people to partner together, for people to bring their deals. We help you analyze. We have full out module training courses. So everything we covered today, but way more in depth, in detail. We do live weekly calls with coaches, guest speakers. We will review your deals for you. We will go through financing strategies, access to deal flow sometimes when the opportunity presents. And then it is a great way to meet those like-minded people as well, because it can be a little bit difficult doing it all on your own. But we have an incredible group for, those who are ready to go for it. And, we have a lot of our members who have had great success in it, who right away started learning so much, but then going and taking the actions, analyzing their deals, bringing their deals to the call, and then closing um, on them from there, and then just learning also the operations. There's a lot to it, but we're here for any questions that you would have. So just don't let the limiting beliefs hold you back. It held me back for a very long time, thinking I wasn't smart enough, I didn't have the network, I didn't have the capital, I didn't have this. I just thought that for so many years, and it held me back for a really long time. And my biggest regret was that I didn't just go for it and start sooner. So if you are interested in it and you want more, you can scan this code and it will take you to a call with our team, and we will go through a strategy, see where you're at now, see what makes sense for you. There's also a link in the chat there, and we would love to see you in our group. If you do book the call, I would love to see it even in the chat and just say call booked, because we love to see that action, right? And committing to something. And, we don't want you to get off this call without, taking some serious action, whether it is booking a call with us or doing something that's going to move you closer to your goals. But oh, there we go. Already call booked. Eisen, is it how you say it? I'm sorry, but awesome. Oh, and it's sent just to host and panelists, but I love to see it. So anyone booking those calls, we'll love to see it. Matt already booked a call. You guys are on it today. I love it. All right. And then Sujay, I know we kind of ran a little bit over today, but we will get into the chat. We will get into your questions, And then we want to see these calls coming in too. We want to see you guys taking those action steps. But we will go through the chat. And if you do have anything else come up, a question, we will get to it. And maybe we'll stay a little bit later. But if you can't stay, we will be sending out this recording. And then we hope to see you on a call very soon. So if we go through Sujay,
Yeah, I'm
um,
like scrubbing the chat for questions. I know we had a ton.
yeah,
So if you find any before me, let me know. Um,
yeah, let's go through.
Oh, so Daniel asked, what are the four numbers again for like the underwriting? I think I'm looking at the time. I was like, I think that was like while we were underwriting. So how old is the property, right? So like the age of the property, the number of rooms, the revenue, and the NOI, are like the four numbers that I typically ask. If it's a branded hotel, then I'll ask what the PIP is or like the Reno punch list, is, or when it was last renovated, right? So that would be number five if I were to ask like a fifth question. So,
I
um,
see a few.
and then
A few just at the bottom here. Eric says, do you go through market analysis for stable or growing markets for hospitality? So maybe do a little recap on some market research.
yeah, sorry, where was that question? It was at the end, you said?
Yeah.
I don't see it. Can you read it again? Sorry, one more. Oh, do you go through market analysis for stable or growing markets for hospitality? Um, I think I understand the question. So, typically, I'm looking for either, right? Growing or stable markets are both great. One thing you have to understand is like for a stable market, if you are adding a property or adding rooms, right? If it's a new build or adding rooms, you have to understand that there is going to be some a little bit of a ripple effect there, right? Because you're adding more supply to a stable market. One of the benefits that you would have is you would be the newest or the like most recently renovated property. And so the way I like to see it is like most likely you're just like kind of stealing business, which, it's like it kind of sucks. But at least like your property, you got to understand that you'll be positioned in a good place. In a growing market, it's always good, right? Always good in a growing market. Because whether you come in, whether you add more rooms, you know that in the long term, like you're gonna be okay because it's a hot market, right? And the demand is only gonna increase. The one caveat to that is if you're going to a growing market, chances are that is a lot of people looking in that market and there could be oversupply that happens, right? So you want to make sure you do some research, see what else is under development. I think those just like high level, very important steps and ways to think about it. So what's up? I see
Uh,
some calls booked, so let's
I
go.
know. I know. I love it. So many book calls. And we do have the link. I saw someone having an issue there, but Ava, just let us know if you are able to book your call. If not, we will help you out with that. Um, uh, Queenie is asking, what is the biggest risk in hotel investing? I think this is a good one just to go through
Yeah,
some of
this
the
is a
risks
great one.
as well.
This is a great one because I'm definitely drinking the hotel Kool-Aid. And so, but I want to be honest and transparent as well. So, and again, if we have a few minutes, I'll take a few extra minutes to share on this too. Is like COVID. COVID was definitely like a very stressful 6 months. Not even full year, but very stressful 6 months. We didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know when it was going to end. I remember looking at my forecast and, I'm in Ohio, so in the Midwest, the winter months are slow. Those of you who follow basketball, like Rudy Gobert touched the microphone at like the first week of March, and then everything went downhill from there. And so beginning of March, like everything just started shutting down middle of March. Ohio was one of the first states to just like go cold turkey. And so my booking calendar went like 40, 60, 70 rooms booked, like later April months to like 6, 4, 15. And I was like, what the heck? Like what am I gonna do? Right? So it's stressful. But like at that time, I have to understand as a business owner is like, we got to pivot. We got to think this like, so we got rid of breakfast, right? There was no breakfast. So major savings there. We shut down the top floor of our hotel. It was like no need for housekeepers to waste time running up and down and having two people on the top floor, two people on the bottom floor. It just doesn't make sense, right? So we filled first and second floors only, shut down the top couple floors, things like that. And then, again, we don't have to worry too much about like the AC and heat and on those two floors. Like small things like that we did. But then the end of 2020 and the beginning of all of 2021, 2022, best years I've ever had in the business. Like 2x profit because breakfast, still no breakfast, which is like an $80,000, just like a loss for my hotels, right? So like $80,000 straight to the bottom line each property, right? Even if corporate travel was down, people were tired of being like cooped up at home and they were ready to get out and about. So we crushed it for the following like couple years. And in hindsight, I'd say like you minus all the health issues and all that stuff, but I'd take a COVID type economical distress for my hotels if I was promised a 2021 and 2022 to follow. Like I do that all day. It's a good deal. And so, just like understanding how to like mitigate some of these risks is important. And that's why I think being versed in like some sort of operations is important. Like that's honestly one of the reasons why we have like this academy is so we can talk about these things. We have a community that we can pick each other's brains on how we're operating, all the things, right? So.
And I saw a few questions come in about the overseas investing or out of state and all of my first deal. First of all, I'm from Canada, and my first hotel deal was in Belize, and now we're buying in the US, but we are looking all over the place, right? And there are so many different options, even with financing. And it could be, some countries, maybe you can't get traditional bank financing, but maybe you could partner with a local who could get that financing and then you could come in as a partner. Or you can do seller financing. Like our Belize property, we had a portion of it that was just financed by the seller, and then we raised outside capital for the rest. So there's tons of different ways to do it and strategies that we talk about all the time for those of you who are interested in either out of country or out of state hotel investing.
Yeah, and yeah, great part about like out of country is like sellers know that sometimes they, depending on the country, sometimes it might be hard. So they're willing to seller finance.
Yeah.
The willingness is there.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm just thinking, Sujay, I know you guys are great. You're staying overtime with us. I know we went through a lot today and we do have quite a few questions, so we might not be able to get to all of them today, but if you do book your call, we will definitely get to them there as well. But
Yeah.
is there any final kind of more co common ones that you saw in the chat, Sujay?
Um, I want I don't see one that's like maybe like a final one, but I see a couple. I know someone in here said like one of their properties struggling would love to like DM me. Would love to just like chop it up with you over DMs even. So feel free to hit me up and let's see if we could shock that thing back. Because I love hospitality. I think, if you're in the right market, there's so much potential. Someone did. Oh, so Ishan has a question. As a fresh grad with no money to my name, I dove into operations as a GM. How valuable is operational experiences as an investor? Um, Super important, Ishan. Like, if you're gonna eventually raise capital, right? If you have no money to your name, technically right now, but you're gonna go out and raise capital, get people to invest with you. I mean, you tell me, like, would I rather invest with you who has experience, boots on the ground as a GM, is a leader of a team on the property? Would I rather invest with you or someone who has no idea how to run a hotel, right? So, that definitely positions you, and it's a valuable piece of experience that you do have, right? And if you're running the hotel every single day, who's to say that you don't have the capacity to do that once it's your own property, right? And the other thing is, even when you're making offers, to have that experience and to say that I've ran a property and now I want to buy yours. even though I haven't owned other properties, the seller is going to look at that and say like, oh wow, like, like it's a little bit of that underdog story. So they may even emotionally support you, but then on top of that, they're gonna value you having that experience more than someone else who doesn't have any experience. So, good question there. Someone asked about auctions real quick. Auctions could be really good. But you gotta be careful because if you win the auction, there's certain amount of money that is non-refundable. So you want to just make sure that you have all your ducks in a row prior to bidding in the auction. So you want to make sure that you have your equity kind of figured out, or at least you're confident that you will have it figured out by the time the closing timeline comes. You want to review the PSA. And thirdly, because you can't negotiate the PSA once you win the auction. And then third, you want to make sure that you have your financing lined up as well. And then some of that equity is due up front, like within 24 hours of winning the bid. So just, just a little bit different in terms of like nuances that you have to think about and just be conscious of.
And I see Fran booked a call as well, which is exciting. And yeah, the person who had the international boutique hotel that's not doing well. And here's the thing too, right? Like even the story Sujay was telling about cutting the breakfast, save 80 grand, or adding the different income streams and just having those new eyes. And that's what we love about the community so much as well, having new eyes, people with experience who can come through and say, okay, here's where I see you can save money, here's where we see you can make more money, and then there's a lot of opportunity, and that's something that I love about hotels versus, single family homes because it's not quite the same. You can't add all of these different income streams to your single family home rental property, right? Like what would you say are some of the top income generating things you could do, Sujay, to really start to bring that up?
Yeah, yeah, tons of things, right? Like one of the things that I was talking about, someone with earlier today was, having a bar or having a restaurant inside the hotel versus just a marketplace, right? Like no overhead, but you can sell little ice cream bars for like $4 or $5, right? And you buy a pack of 12 for $5 at the grocery store, right? You have frozen pizza, things like that. I go to these conventions. There's vending machines that literally cook, like they print pizza or like sandwiches and stuff like that. And it's funny because they were showing me the data, and on a Friday night at like 2 a.m. they saw an order of like $200 come in. That was someone who's like intoxicated and just like pushing buttons, and they ordered $200 of pizza or like, at 2 a.m. So things like that. I mean, there's so many things with like the marketplace. Then if you're in a resort area, or sorry, a tourist area, you can partner with excursion companies, right? Like whether it's jet skis, parasailing, tours. One of the properties that we were underwriting, it was a little bit out in the country, and it looked like Hobbit Town, like if you watched Lord of the Rings. And they actually partnered with a like a horse buggy, just like a local group, like a local family that had a couple horses. And they were able to make like $80 per ride that they sold or upsold to their guests. And they didn't have to do any of it, they didn't have to manage it, they didn't have to like house the horses or anything like that. It was just a local family that would come, and they book a time. They'd come, take them in the carriage around the whole like property and bring them back, right? So many things that you can do. I always say like hotels is the vessel. Like selling the rooms is just a vessel. Out of that, you can create so many different verticals and so many different businesses within the one. Like we looked at the example of Gian, he had the liquor store and the pub inside of his hotel. So
Yeah. Gift shops, all these different things. It's, that's what I love about it. It's just the creativity of it. And then saving the money too. It's how can we add more money and how can we save more money? And that's what Sujay is incredible at. And he could spot it right away, which is really awesome.
yeah, it's fun.
Wow. Well, we're already a little bit over time, you guys, but amazing questions. Great group here. What a fun webinar we had today, Sujay.
That was great. And everyone was so engaging. It's awesome.
I know we appreciate you guys showing up here live. asking the questions, getting the information. We're here to help you. If you are ready and you're ready to dive in, and want more time with us, we do this every single week through our community. So you could book that call and learn more there and see what is a fit for you. But we appreciate you guys. We want you to take this, go take action. We want your lives to change through real estate investing, hotel investing. We really want you to be successful in it. So we're here for you guys, and we appreciate you being here tonight.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone. Appreciate you guys.
everyone. Okay.